Well, hello. I'm excited, very excited, very excited. Got this unboxing today. These are the 3D breed March to Hell miniatures, made by a company in Spain, I gather. But these ones are printed by Potbelly Miniatures in New Zealand. So you can buy just the 3D files if you've got your own 3D printer and do it that way, or if not, there's a number of companies around the world that seem to have a license to print these figures, and so I've gone for that option. Potbelly in New Zealand. I've got a few things from them before. What they do, so I've been aware of these guys for a while, but I've never gone for any because they were a bit big and a bit kind of chunky. They're kind of caricatures. My wife said they look really cute, but you know, they weren't that realistic kind of proportions, and they certainly didn't look like they would fit very well with the rest of my miniatures. So, but what the Potbelly do is they print them at 90% their height and 80% their width, so they make them obviously a bit smaller but a little bit less chunky than the initial file. So that was what attracted me. So I want to have a look at some of these guys and get an idea how they compare with others like Victrix, for example. So these are the Theban cavalry. This red resin I haven't seen before. Interesting. It's sort of a bit hard to assess them, I think, until they're base coated, but all I can say is they look lovely and they don't seem to have much in the way of print lines on them. This white discoloration here is, but anyway, you won't see that once it's primed and base coated. So the horses, all three are different, obviously no stand there, and all pretty active galloping. And then you've got a bit of that white stuff on the Theban cavalryman's helmet again, or cloak. They are still that somewhat stumpy kind of appearance, you'll notice. But I don't know, once they're painted up they may look pretty good. Everyone fits on every horse, or whether they're specific. Oh, that one looks like it fits on that one better. Okay, and what about the size comparison? So I'll get a you've got a Victrix horse, Greek horse. Let's put them down like that, and then one of these guys side by side. So very, very similar. Still got a slightly chunkier appearance, particularly to the riders, not so much to the horse. A little bit to the horse as well, yeah. So it'll be easier to assess, I think, once they're assembled. I'll mount it on the same sort of base and then we can get a better idea how they stack up versus the Victrix guys. Alright, well that was the first little box of them. Let's see what else we got here. So the old Cretan archers. If you've seen some of my previous videos, you know I'm a bit of a nut for Cretan archers. And actually there's a few Persian dudes there as well. Let me put them aside and we'll have a look at the Cretan fellas first. So there's just 4 of them. 2 kneeling, 2 standing, all quite different. And again, they look pretty clean, tidy, not much work. There's a little bit of those little thingies, plastic extra bits where they've been printed, need cleaning off, but very, very minimal. So let's see comparison with size. I'll get some of the standing up guys. So if you put him on a base like that, compared to, so this is a Vendel Thistle and Rose Cretan Archer, almost the same, maybe a teeny bit smaller in fact. And the other 3D printed one I've got is from Blitzkrieg, which are really good. So they are very, very, very similar, basically the same. So that's good. They look quite compatible with the other Cretan Archer brigade that I've got, or army almost. So who's next? Let's see these few Persians. So I've got this Persian general sitting on a horse. He's a nice big chubby boy, but that would fit with being a general, I reckon. So that's not out of place at all. Let's see how he compares. So this is a Victrix Persian. Again, let me borrow that base and we'll just get a bit of an idea how they stack up. So very, very well. I think this guy's a bit chubbier again, but that sort of seems appropriate for the general. And he's got quite a nice shield there to go on with a bit of moulded texture on that. I like that. So I think he's going to be a ripper. Get him off. And then there was also, I think, basically the same figure, but standing. Another Persian general. Looks good. Again, as I say, it's a bit hard to sort of assess them in their red plastic. Once I've primed them, I'll show you again and see how they look there. And then one of the box, the biggest box I got, this is a some more Persians, and these are camel riding dromedary force for the Persian. So just 3 of them, each one individual, unique sort of camel. Some of them easily stand up on their own, the other doesn't. And then you've got these 3 different riders. So spears with that one. This guy's got more spears. And again, you notice the slightly chunky stubbiness of the individuals. Let's get a look at a comparison with that's a Warlord Games camel. So significantly bigger than that one and a much broader. Warlord Games tend to be on the skinny side with most of their figures. So I don't mind that. I think it's actually, I prefer a slightly chubbier looking camel than this emaciated dude here. They look great, I reckon. They're a fantastic addition to my growing Persian army. Not many, I don't know any other manufacturers that do specific Persian camel figures. There were more than 3, there might have even 6 or so unique ones, so they're quite a decent camel force if you want. So I'm just going to go and clean them up a bit and do some base coating and then show you what they look like then. Thanks. See ya. Here they are, primed black and then given a light dry brushing of the creamy white, and it brings out the features and the beautiful sculpting really well. They look like they're going to be fantastic. Such crisp, nice features. The only downside I'd say is that resin is a bit brittle, as I've found with some of the 3D prints before, and I managed to snap off one of these bows when I was just snipping off a little bit extra of the resin, but it glued back pretty easily. The other thing, the fact they don't have stands, just is a little bit of a nuisance to me. I guess it makes them more versatile. You can put them on terrain features, but if you just want to mount them on the ground, then they're a little bit tricky, and it took a few goes to get them to glue to these bases, and hopefully they'll be stable and solid now. But otherwise, absolutely fantastic, positive in every respect so far. Now, in terms of size comparison, I'll get these kneeling guys off and we'll put up some standing ones for the manufacturers to see. So that's Vendel, Thistle and Rose, so tiny bit bigger than these guys, but the Vendel are always a bit on the big side. Then we've got this guy who was from Gripping Beast, that's the Saga Age of Hannibal, so that one is almost exactly the same, I reckon. There's these 3D breeds, and then we've got this fella who is from Eureka Miniatures. He's actually jacked up a little bit higher on his stand, but again, I'd say size is almost identical. So I think they're going to be quite a nice match for the vast majority of 28mm archers that you might already have. Let's do similar with the horses. Get all these dudes off. I've just got one horse prepared. Here we go. So again, a little bit tricky gluing it down. I think actually I drilled a hole in one of the feet and put a wire and then drilled that into the base, which worked quite well. And the drilling wasn't a problem, didn't shatter the foot, so that was a good thing, good sign for the resin. So let's compare. There's a Victrix Persian horse, and our size is very similar. The 3D breed, as I showed earlier, I think it's a little bit stockier and a little bit shorter, but not a big thing, not a big difference between them. And then this is a metal Aventine horse, which again is a bit slimmer, maybe a little bit taller. So the proportions were 90% height, 80% width compared to the original steel files. I reckon if they did it like 95% height and 80% width, might just be perfect. I think I might feed that back to them and see whether there's any capacity to change their dimensions just a little bit. It's very close to ideal. And then lastly we've got the camel. Compared him with that skinny one the other day, but there's not much point comparing him again. That's the only other camel I've got. So he's going to be cool. He's got quite an expressive face and just looks the part to me. I'm looking forward. I think I'll do him first. So I think what I'll do now is just do each little group separately and produce a separate video once I've completed them, so you can get a look. So let me know if you're interested in these, what you think. What do you think about the ideal dimensions of them? And I'll feed it back to at least to Potbelly Miniatures in New Zealand. There may be others where you get yours from. You can probably feed back to them yourselves. These are the, obviously, actually on the left, this guy is the Theban cavalryman, and this is the Persian camel rider. So they do have that stumpy appearance, a bit more munchkin sort of guy than leprechaun than a human. With their very short legs, it's just the biggest giveaway. And again, I think they could be stretched a bit, and 95% or even maybe 100% height, kept at 80% width. That'll probably work. Problem with that then is it may not fit very well on the camel unless the proportions changed with that one as well. Anyway, come on the horse. There you go. So yep, hope you like that. Like, subscribe, bell button, bingo, carry on. So just a quick update. I did get some feedback from Potbelly Miniatures, and basically they talked about the red resin, and that's a little bit more flexible than the previous black one. So the hope is that the figures won't be so brittle. And I must say, since that initial break, I haven't had any more problems. I've prepared a few and started painting a few, and yeah, nothing else is broken, and so I've been able to drill into them without any great difficulty and no shattering. So they're probably onto something there. In terms of different dimensions, they said the horses and riders, they just do straight 90% height because the altering the dimensions just means the rider doesn't fit on the steed very well, so they're pretty much stuck with the 90% for those ones. The figures themselves, they said, or the infantry figures, that they experimented with a few other different scales, but they found that if they elongated them anymore, sometimes the helmets looked very conical and weird, so they didn't want to go with that. So basically sticking with the 90% height, 80% width dimensions, which makes sense. Yeah, made a little start on some of these guys, and I'm enjoying them thus far. And the certainly the details on the figures are great. The musculature on this Cretan guy, you can see, is fantastic. So looking forward to putting out another video in the not too distant future where they're all finished, and I'll show what they look like. Okay, catch you then.